Joy, Christiani here, and today we are going to experiment moving in the direction of Sarvangasana, shoulder stand. For some of you, this may not be appropriate today if there's uncontrolled blood pressure, detached retina, glaucoma, any eye issue, even just a sty in the eye. Being inverted is problematic to the eyes. So we want to avoid. And of course, if you're on your moon cycle. But I am going to give you alternatives to that. So please do feel free to join along for this practice. And you will find something here for you, I'm sure. It is, however, prop intensive, but well worth it. So if you have 4 blankets, that would be amazing, or a couple of bolsters, blankets like this, of this texture. If you happen to have a wall, that would be great. Bring your wall with you. If no wall, maybe a chair. Again, not necessary, but you may find it to be helpful for getting into the inversion. So place your mat out so that the skinny end of it is against your wall if you do have one. And then, a rag, a towel, or a yoga strap. And so go ahead and place your mat skinny end against the wall like I mentioned, and then take your Tadasana blankets and fold them up in half like so, each one of them, okay? Or if you have bolsters instead, then that's what you will use. And then I want you to stack them one on top of the other. May feel like a lot, but for what we're about to do, you will find that it's quite useful. And you may even want or need more. It really depends on your flexibility with your hamstring. Like I'm just getting up now, and this is my hamstring flexibility at this time, and I still feel that I need this much propping for what we're going to do. But if you see this, don't be discouraged if you're about here, because that's where I started. So it's just a matter of practice. So bring your props about 1/3 of the way in. You might need to move around with that a little bit. Come into a kneeling position. Bring your left leg out to the side like so, and then step it out in front of you. Now, lean forward and place as much of that back thigh onto the blanket as possible. And then from here, rotate towards your front leg, like so. As you rotate towards the front leg, this assists us in getting that inner groin up to face up and the outer hip to face down. And then go ahead and extend the leg all the way out to the heel. And then bring the torso back forward so that the hips are aligned, but keep that engagement through the inner groin. Take your hands and straddle your mat, and then place the tricep, the upper part of your arm to the outside of your shin, and use that to encourage you to send the torso forward. So the legs are engaged, moving in one direction back, while the torso is moving forward. The torso is lengthening, opening out away from the legs, from the pelvis. Breathe. And then as you're ready, come on back down. Leave that front leg where it is. Just reposition the torso. And now let's open up the hamstring on the front leg. So you are resting the hamstrings, those 3 muscles in the back of the leg, onto the blanket. You may want to wiggle a little bit from side to side here, just to massage them a bit. If you notice, if you massage them, it begins to release, right? They're not so tight. And then what you want to do here is you want to find that sit bone on the left glute and move it out towards the left at an angle to the left, okay? And that will help you begin to open the hamstring a little bit more and make your back really, really happy. So here, go ahead and lean forward. Place your hands down on the mat and use that resistance. So the back leg is still engaged, not out in la la land, but the focus here now is on the front leg, okay? So pressing down through the heel. If you happen to have a wall in front of you, you can press that foot onto the wall, engage the top of the thigh, and then again, we're lifting the torso off of the legs, off of the legs. Breathe. Breathe. As you're ready, begin to come back up, kneeling again. Step that left foot out to the side as we started. Bring it back, and let's do the other side. Right foot out, right foot forward, and let's work that back leg. So, placing the leg, as much of the top thigh onto the blanket as possible, and then rotating towards the front leg, and using that rotation to encourage the inner groin of that back leg to lift while the outer hip drops, all the while sending it back in the direction of the heels. Breathe. And then keeping that as you send the torso forward. Taking the tricep of the right arm onto the front of the shin of the right foot, and using that resistance to send the entire torso forward, away from the leg. So left leg reaches back. Right hip also moves back. The arm resistance is assisting you in doing that. And the entire torso from the perineum is moving forward. Breathe. And as you're ready, come on back. And step as much of the hamstring of the right leg onto the blanket now. And here again, little massage from side to side. Just rocking it a little. And then finding that right sit bone and encouraging it to move to the right and back at a diagonal. Right and back. Although the back leg is still active, our focus here is on taking the top of that thigh, really engaging it into the muscle, into the femur bone, and then pressing onto the blanket so that the two sandwiching each other awaken the muscle. I mean the bone, I should say. But the muscles are squeezing into that bone. The front foot is engaged, the back foot is engaged as well. And then from here, let's lean forward. But as you lean forward, like you're sending the torso forward with you. Fingertips straddle the mat. The hips aligned. So that means you want to send that right hip back a little bit more than it wants to go. The left hip a little forward from where it wants to be. But then from the perineum, lengthen the torso forward. Up, 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 forward. Yeah. All right. And then as you're ready, come back in. If you want to just swing it a little bit side to side. So maybe you already recognize this as somewhat of a Hanumanasana shape. Yeah, and that's where we're going. Hanuman, the little monkey who was so devoted that he could turn as tiny or as huge as he needed to in order to overcome any obstacle. Yeah, my yoga belt for today is an old shirt that is Hanuman right here, for those of you who don't know the image. And so now we're going to experiment with that pose. Really awaken the legs so that we can invert in a fully charged way. I happen to need a little bit more height even to feel stable really in that pose. So I'm going to take that top blanket and fold it up once more like so. Maybe you have an extra bolster near you, or maybe you don't need that. Yeah. So we're going to start again as we did before. Left leg out to the side, left leg forward. And then from here, the center of the body you want to make sure that it's stable enough that you can rise up. Okay? So you're using the props to assist with that. You're using the blanket on the front leg to encourage that inner groin to move up, the outer hip to move down. And then you're using the prop and the back leg to do the same, inner groin to lift up and the outer hip to move down. So that both hips are fully aligned, so that the legs have the stability they need to remain engaged, even though they're not all the way on the ground, but for you they may be. Yeah? There was a time for me that I managed to do that, but that did require significant continuous practice. Yeah? So if it's about just recognizing where you are and knowing that with a little more practice, things do become smoother, surely they do, then just allowing yourselves to be in that process wherever it is that you are. With each exhalation, the release of expectations, and each inhalation, breath traveling, discovering more space within the body. Reaching the arms all the way up, but the arms coming really in as an extension of the spine. So as the arms rise, a reminder to fill up the kidneys, to fill up the lungs. Clasping all fingers, releasing only the index fingers. Breathe. And so this rise through the spine, this engagement through the legs. Breathe. And then as you're ready, bring it in. And let's switch legs. Very slowly, place your hands on the prop. Bend that front leg. Bring that knee out to the side, the foot out to the side. You can walk it. And then step it down. And then switch sides. Step the foot to the side. Step the foot forward. And again, position yourselves just so that you have the prop supporting the alignment from the base of the pose, which is really the pelvis, right? We'd have the props coming up, like the earth coming up to us, so that the pelvis is aligned. The left hip forward, right hip back, and then reaching up through the arms, breathing. So although there's engagement here, you're being called to engage. Engage by encouraging the tops of the thighs to move into those femur bones. Engage by encouraging the pelvis to align, the right hip to move back, the left hip to move forward. Engaging by encouraging the base of the spine to lift up to the sky. You're also surrendering. Surrendering to what is now in this moment. So kindly recognizing the limitations of the body or where it's at now. Honoring that. And ever so slowly, you're going to find your way back. So leaning forward onto the prop, bending that front leg, walking the back knee in maybe, and then just pedaling the foot back to where it came from, kneeling. So now we move in the direction of the inversion. Yeah? And again, I'll give you an alternative to that first. So we are going to take those blankets and open them up into their Tadasana, or I should say original place. And one by one, stack them on top of one another. I'm gonna put it here so that you can see the alignment of the props, because that is going to make a difference, right? So if it's supporting you, you want to give it what it needs to support you. No wrinkles. And then as you stack them, they're not exactly on top of one another. There's a little bit of gradation here, okay? Where as they go up, they move in this direction. But very subtle, very, very subtle. Okay? So again, if you have a wall behind you, that's great. If you have a chair behind you, that's great. But you may not find that it's necessary, especially now that you just loosened up your hamstrings. But you want to make sure you have enough room to move your legs back. So right about, like, I think your leg distance out of your head is going to go here, your shoulders are going to go here, and your legs back. Of course, if you've not ever done this before, you're going to watch it the first time around. Okay, please. And then take your yoga belt or variation of that near you. You're going to sit on the prop right at the edge, come around, and then you want to have just the back of your head on the floor and the shoulders well into the blanket. And this is your setup for your shoulder stand. But those of you who are not going into the shoulder stand, take your rag next to you, scoot yourselves down enough so that the ribs are actually on the ground, because you're not doing an official inversion, in the heart and the head on the same lane. But still, you can bring your legs up and get all the benefits of just flushing out that fatigue, that tiredness, that lack of circulation through the feet by having your legs like so. And then you can use your yoga belt or what have you over the eyes and just let everything go here. You can take the arms out to the sides if that's comfortable for you. Okay. Eventually, we will all meet here and then we'll do a final little restorative practice together. So those of you who are not inverting, you can do this. If it feels like it's too much to have the legs up for a while, especially if you're on your moon cycle, you may not want that at all. Just bring your legs out to either side of you like you're doing Hanumanasana, child's pose. And you may want to come off the props altogether as well. Okay, and kind of like leave the instructions in the background until we meet again. All right, so then for those of us who are here moving towards the inversion, let's take the hands. So now again, right where I left you before, shoulders are within the blanket, and but right at the edge, and the head is on the ground. Okay, so then from here, keep your strap handy, keep it near. Take the arms one at a time, scoot over, and then swing the legs back onto your wall. See, I take my thumbs to the edge of the blanket to encourage my shoulder blades to serve as feet. So I'm envisioning my right shoulder blade dropping down, my left shoulder blade dropping down, and I'm assisting that process by having my thumbs here on the prop to nudge the top of the shoulder down, and the armpits up, 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 up. So I'm using this prop behind me. Could be a chair again, it could be just the wall, to help me keep the legs nice and active. And then I take my hands on either side of the thighs and I lift that up a bit. So I'm creating that length that I know I will need to have my legs go all the way up. Okay. Now, with this little rag or yoga mat, the hands are going to go, or yoga strap, the hands are going to go like this underneath you. Okay. As so I can lengthen out the right side of the torso up a little bit, walk that right arm in, lengthen out the left side of the torso a little bit, walk that left arm in, keep the head nice and stable, keep the legs nice and stable, and then here, one leg can come up. Lift the torso up. From the sternum, rise up to the pubis. Rise up, rise up, rise up. And then I can take the other leg up. From the sternum, rise up, rise up, rise up. Legs are strong. So I can do this back and forth a few times if that feels appropriate. Or maybe I can take both legs up. Rise up, rise up, rise up. And then maybe release the strap and use the hands to the back of the torso to assist that lift a little bit more. The tops of the thighs are moving back towards the hamstrings. The glutes are moving forward towards the pubis. And you're lifting up. This pose was the most difficult pose for me. Used to collapse onto my back and really feel like a struggle, like I needed to get out of it right away because my back couldn't stand it. But little by little, I learned to use the props, to engage the legs. Really makes a big difference to engage those legs. And then that lift got me off of my back. And then my back became very happy with doing this pose and received a lot of benefits. And then as you're ready, you can bend the legs in. Take it back again to the wall or the prop that you have, or you can take it all the way to the ground, yeah? Bring the arms out to the sides, bend the knees to more restorative aspect of this. Whole back body opening. And ever so slowly rolling your way back down. And then from here, nudging yourself back as we have some folks already there, or maybe that's where you still are. Keep going. So to those of us who are here with the legs up, let's go ahead and bend them. And then let's nudge the hips to the right and walk the knees to the left. Stacking the hips as best you can. Dropping that right shoulder as much as possible. And just breathing here. And as you're ready, find your way back to center. Take your time. Nudge both hips out to the left now. And walk your knees to the right. And again, lifting that left hip up. Dropping the left shoulders down. The right side of the abdomen is moving on over to the left. And the left hip is rising up off of the right hip. Left shoulder cascading down. Letting go. Ever so slowly roll on over to the side. And come into kneeling for a moment. Stretching those arms forward. And resting the top of the head onto the blanket. And sending the hips back. And eventually dropping all the way back. Full restorative. Slowly finding your way back up. Unless you want to stay there a little bit longer, by all means do. Just noticing how you feel. So what I just showed you was truly one of my biggest challenges, and now something that I look forward to doing often. So I wish that for you as well, and so much more. Namaste.